In this project, we are going to make a flashlight out of cardboard, some LED lights, some batteries, and some battery holders. The cardboard has been laser cut into a foldable enclosure that will be the housing for our flashlight. We have just some regular LED lights, and we have some maker tape and a battery holder. So the maker tape and the battery holder are from Brown Dog Gadgets, which make all sorts of great electronics components. You can buy the maker tape in rolls like that. I have some pre-cut pieces as well as some smaller pieces. And let's show you how to put this together. So the first thing that we need to do is start to assemble the circuit. And so what we're going to see is that on the cardboard template here, we have these 4 little pairs of holes, and that is where our LEDs are going to go in. So that's going to be the front of the flashlight. And then we have space at the back where our battery is going to go, and we have some other openings here as well. So the way we're going to start this is by taking our battery holder, and the battery is going to go in this side, and you can see on the battery there's a little plus. Can almost see it there, and there's also a little plus on the battery holder, and we would want to put our battery in there like that. You can go ahead and do that now, or you can do that later. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to push the battery side of that through the hole in the cardboard design, and I'm going to put the side that says 3 volts, the positive rail here, on the edge of the cardboard, and I'm going to leave this white side, the negative, on the inside. What you don't want to have is going this way, because if you connect that to that, that's connecting the positive to the negative, and that will make it so that your circuit doesn't work and you're creating a short circuit. So we're going to put it like this. Now it is possible to put it backwards. You just have to rewire a little bit differently in terms of how your LEDs go, because LEDs can only have electricity flowing through them in one direction. So incandescent bulbs, if you wired it up backwards, they'd still work. LEDs, if you wire it up backwards, they won't work. So we're going to test our LEDs before we actually finish our circuit here. But I have my battery in the hole there. It fits nicely. That's going to hold it in place and give me access should I ever want to pop a new battery in there. Now I'm going to take the first of my long strips of tape, and maker tape, you sort of flick your finger on the end of it here, and you're going to be able to separate the tape from the paper backing, and we'll just peel that off. And what I'm going to do is, my goal is to run it all the way from the white part of the battery all the way along and have the tape go to the left of all of my little holes that the LEDs are going to go in. So if I start up there, I want to make sure I go at least to the last set of holes. I'm going to put my tape on there. I'm going to run it flat, and when I get down here to the battery, you can see I'm just going to run it right onto the battery holder and push that on there nice and snug. So you can see the tape comes all the way up past the holes. It runs straight down, and it's touching the white side of the battery holder. That's the way that we want it. Now the second piece of tape, I'm going to lay it along the other side of those holes. So up at the top, I'm going to lay it on the side of the holes here, and I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to kind of judge where it goes, and I want to cut it right in between these 2 little open holes in the design. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to just cut that right there. And the reason for this is we need to break the circuit somewhere, right? We need to put a switch in here, a button, so that we can turn our flashlight on and off. If we just had a continuous piece of tape going on there, the light would always be on. We would never be able to shut it off, and eventually our LEDs and our battery would wear down really fast, and that's kind of defeats the purpose of a flashlight because it wouldn't light up. So now you can see I have my tape going on the right side of the holes, and it comes down along here and it goes over this hole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it. I'm going to use my scissors And I'm just going to sort of stab it through there. And that's going to bring it around to the other side. And I'm just going to fold it over and then tape it there. And this is where we're going to make our switch. So we're going to make a connection that will connect these two parts, and that will allow electricity to flow. And when it's not connecting, electricity won't be able to flow and it'll turn off. So now I'm going to take that other piece of tape that I had, and I'm going to lay it again from the middle of the gap between those two little notches. I didn't push it all the way down there because I want to push it in. And then I'm running it on the opposite side from the white where it says 3 volts, and I'm just pushing it into so it makes some contact with the little metal contacts there. And then I'm going to take my scissors and push that through and flip it over and fold it back. So it makes a little bit of a hook around these two holes. And that's the bulk of my circuit. Now, as I said with LEDs, they only work in one direction. And so you can see on my LED here, I have 2 little legs, and one is dark, one is longer than the other one. And so that's how you can sort of tell the positive and the negative. So when we figure out which way this LED should go, we want to make sure we know which side the longer legs are going on and put all of the LEDs with that same longer leg on there. So how do I figure this out? Well, the easiest way is to test it. So I'm actually going to gently bend these out. And I'm actually going to touch the maker tape, and you can see my LED is lit up right now. If I were to flip this around so that the legs touched in the opposite direction, it's not going to work because, as I said, electricity can only flow through an LED in one direction. So I now know that I want, when I push that back down, I want the longer leg to be touching this broken part of my circuit. So up here, I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put the LED through the hole with the longer leg over here on this side with the little break in it. And once I pushed it through, I'm going to bend those pins over. You don't want to bend them too much because they can break, and we've got extra LEDs should you need them, but that's what's going to allow me to make contact with the different sides of my circuit. So now I can take this other one, and I know the longer leg needs to go on the right hand side. So I'm going to put it in there, and bend the leads over. Do the same thing with the next one, with the longer leg on the same side as all the other ones. And my last one, goes like that. Now, you can see these will all hopefully touch this, but they're not going to touch it very well. So we're going to actually bind them in there. We're going to get them nice and in a lot of good contact by putting another piece of maker tape. I have a short one cut right here. We're going to take another piece of maker tape, and we're going to sandwich those legs in between the 2 layers of maker tape. And one of the beautiful things about maker tape is that it's conductive on both sides. So as long as it's touching the strip that we've already laid down, it will connect all of this stuff up so that it all can allow electricity to flow through. So I'm just pushing it down nice and tight so it's making good contact with all the little pins, so that it's making good contact with the strip of maker tape that we already had there. All that stuff is in good, nice contact, because I'm about to close this thing up and I don't want to have to get back in there to put it all back together. So we're ready to fold our flashlight body here. So I'm going to fold this part down halfway so that it's kind of at a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to just sort of roll it around So if I stick that in there and then I keep rolling, and you see this piece has this little notch on it, and there's a little slot that it's going to fit into. There's also a notch down here where my little switch is going to be, and there's a slot that it's going to fit into. So when I bring that down, that's going to go in there, and that little tab is going to go in there. And then I'm going to keep folding it around. And now I have two more tabs. So a tab right here and a tab right here, and a slot for them to go into. So I'm going to fold that around, bend it down, and stick those in there. And that should get our flashlight pretty good. And you can see that the LED lights are folded in there facing forward. We've got a nice block here, and we've got our battery is nice and covered up, but we know where it is. If we ever want to change the battery, we just pop this part off and we can change the battery underneath there. But now we've got to make our switch, and we're looking for two little lines that have been cut into this flap right here that are going to sort of indicate where this is. Now this could be different depending on where your tape came, but our goal is to put a piece of Maker tape here that when it's pushed down and touches, you can see where these two little lines are, it's going to connect these two parts together. So I got to find my last piece of Maker tape that I have here. And if I need to put a few pieces side by side, if I get it kind of in the wrong spot there at first, that's fine. But I'm just going to put that on there like that, and then I'm going to push it down. And if I make good contact, you can see my lights light up, and if I release, the lights turn off. Now, if I'm getting sort of intermittent contact like that, then I may want to add a little bit of extra Maker tape, because it's possible that I'm just not fully in contact there. So I could cut myself an extra little piece just to widen out that area where I can make contact with my switch. And there's my red flashlight. When I release, it turns off. When I push, it turns on. And that's working pretty well. So now I'm going to take this last tab here and I'm going to stick it inside that slot, and that'll just keep our button down. And give it a little press, release, press, release. And there is our cardboard flashlight.